It's been 10 years since Sachin Tendulkar bid farewell to international cricket, leaving us all with tears in our eyes. Sachin remains perhaps India's favourite son, a cricketer who we grew up watching. Sachin's success was our success, his failures were on our shoulders as well. Besides anything else, Sachin was and remains a brilliant human being, a true inspiration. So, we're talking about the man himself, Sachin Tendulkar. Sharda Ugra and Sunandan Lele join me, and Brett Lee will be joining us in a little while from now. Sharda, what does Sachin Tendulkar mean to you?
My career started with his career. That's the joke I always make. He went sort of skyward. He's a star. No, I think in complete seriousness, he was in the 90s and the first decade of the 2000s. He was the central figure around Indian cricket, a very, very important, very influential cricketer, and a cricketer of great quality. And what is even more astonishing is, given the gifts that he had, is the fact that he happened to be a team man. I mean, he could have become a diva. He could have thrown tantrums in the dressing room. And I don't think we really appreciate that kind of part that he played, along with being an exceptional cricketer of, everyone who's played alongside him, with him, against him, said that there was actually a genius at work, and along with the genius, he was like an everyday genius, even in how he conducted himself in the dressing room. And
Sharda, what is an everyday genius? Anyhow,
an everyday genius is the non-diva kind of a thing. I could start taking players' names who were divas and who created and destroyed teams as they went along, and there were plenty of those in the 80s and 90s, and that's why he was an everyman and an everyday genius.
Sunandan Lele, you've been very close to Sachin. Let's not talk about cricket. Tell us about Sachin, the human being, because I think, in as much as we love his cricket, he's a wonderful person.
Vishnu, you are absolutely right, because he's a great cricketer and an outstanding human being. Me and Sharda knows that for sure. Once I asked this question to Rahul Dravid. Rahul Dravid told me whatever he has performed on the ground is one thing, but the way he himself conducted in the dressing room, that spelled magic, because he was so calm, he was so quiet and normal. That Indian dressing room, which they call it as their second home, it was very, very pristinely clear, nice, and atmosphere in the dressing room was very good. And that created magic for the Indian team. So, outstanding human. Sharda was spot on. He's a brilliant team man.
Andrew Miller, the UK editor of ESPN Cricinfo, is with us, as also Ratnakar Shetty, the former general manager of the BCCI. Andrew, we are talking about Sachin, the human being, first, and then we are talking about Sachin, the cricketer. Do you have any thoughts about Sachin, the human being, the way he's conducted himself, the way he's been humble? For example, I just found that, his reaction to being called by Donald Bradman as, he sort of seems to be a little bit like the way I batted. His reaction, humility, the way he responded to that, and it's just a part of his personality that we've all loved. Is there anything that you liked about Sachin, the human?
Well, funnily enough, the first time I saw Sachin in the flesh was also the very first time I went to a test match. I was aged 12 and he was 17, but obviously he was a very young 17. And, I remember vividly because it was the Oval Test in 1990. And so that was the very first game after he made his century. So, everybody knew that this guy was going to be good, but I don't think anyone had quite realised, having seen that century, to save that game and the manner in which he scored and all the rest of it, all of a sudden, almost overnight, I think he experienced a new level of fame. He clearly, in India, everyone knew he was the coming kid, but now suddenly he had this 100 and he was incredible. I remember him coming down the steps at the dressing room in the Oval, and there were a load of autograph hunters packed around, myself included. And I remember, I swear I saw straight into his soul. He came around the corner and went, oh my God, he's never seen so many people before in his life, all hankering after a piece of him. And, he was tiny. We all remember him as that teenager. And I remember being in absolute awe of him, even at age 17. And funny enough, the story got even sillier because I was there with my cricket bat. I've got it here, actually. First cricket bat I ever had. I got it signed by most of the team. But the pen that I used for him and Kapil Dev, of the two great players I really wanted from the Indian team, it didn't work. So I had for many years a great scratch on the wood, no actual imprint of Sachin from that moment.
Ratnakar Shetty, tell us a story about Sachin. Not about his cricket. Tell us about something else about him.
Yeah, I'm very happy you are asking me to talk about other than cricket. And for me, I think having seen him from his school days till he retired as an international cricketer, a couple of things that I always admired in him was his self-discipline, his respect for the game and the equipments that he used, his respect for his coach, and unstinted love for Mumbai cricket and Indian cricket. And I have not seen something of that type, because he wouldn't like to miss any games. You know, he had gone to Pakistan for where he made his debut. When he came back, his college had reached the finals of the intercollegiate tournament, and he wanted to play that final after coming back from Pakistan. The opposing team was not favorable to his playing, because they said that his name was not in the list of players. But we allowed him to play. He scored a double hundred. And I still remember, you know, for every day of that 3-day game, Achrekar sir used to take him on his scooter at lunchtime to Garware clubhouse and bring him back to the game. That was the relation he had with his coach, and I feel that played a major role in what he went on to become. I think every accolade that he has earned, he fully deserved that because of the factors surrounding him.
Sharda, I think we just don't talk about the enormous weight of expectation which he shouldered for so many decades. It would drive anybody crazy, absolutely. It didn't drive him crazy at all, but it's something obviously which he had to deal with all his professional career. The expectation of 1 billion people, it's unreal.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. You know, I think people who were teenagers, who grew up, like I was in my 20s in the 1990s, and all of us who were there at that time, and we just saw the attention and the pressure that was on him. And every time you talk to him about it, literally, like he was shut off from the world in many ways. But when you saw him in the middle, it was like there was no pressure at all. You know, he always said that he said it's not pressure. I think it lifts me rather than it bears down on me. Off the field, it was obviously tougher, but on the field, it was like he almost reveled in it and he got a lot of energy out of it, and he responded in that way. And I think we also forget that he was a tremendous competitor. He loved competing, and he said, I interviewed him once, and he said the only people I can bear losing to are my children. So he was that kind. He was that kind of a competitor, and we forget that. You know, we forget his competitiveness, which I think came out particularly when he used to bowl. Every spell he bowled, it was like a little piece of entertainment in the sense he was there getting stuck in to try and get the batsman out, and he claimed a huge number of wickets for India. I think 200, close to 200. So a tremendous competitor who loved being on the field was what made him, the person he was. It showed you the true person that he was.
Andrew, Sachin ultimately became not just an Indian hero or an Indian icon. He was loved, and I use that word deliberately, throughout the world. In England, in Australia, the fact that you have a Lara Tendulkar stand in Australia now, the fact that he was considered gold in England, where he played extensively. He played club cricket as well. How was he so loved for what he was, not just in India but around the world?
It's a very good question. I think it's because we just saw him grow up. I think obviously it was much more obvious for India, the first sort of TV icon to really grow up on screen, I suppose, for the Indian audience. But we got that as well. You know, in those days, Test cricket was still the big deal. And him growing up through the ranks of Test cricket and being as good as we always thought he could be, I think that was just a captivating part of the story. You know, you look at all these under-19 kids starlets who can win World Cups and look like they're going to be the next big thing, but how many of them ever go on to genuinely great things? Very few. And in fact, Tendulkar was earmarked from such a young age, and in the end, 200 tests later, he lives up to every every ounce of the expectation that could ever been put on him. It's an incredible story. And just in terms of him being loved in England, I mean, again, having been there for his first tour in 1990, I was back at Lord's for the 2011, the memorable match, the 2000th Test, when it went into that final day with all 4 results possible, and the queues around the ground for people to get in. Bear in mind, the 5th day at Lord's, it's a ticket only, so first come, first serve on the gates, and the queues going down the Wellington Road. We had not seen anything like it in English cricket, and that was entirely the Tendulkar factor. Obviously, there was a match for India as a whole to win, but the fact that Tendulkar could have got, I think it would have been his 100th 100 as well, wouldn't it, if he got there? So everything was building towards that moment. He didn't get there on that occasion, but the very fact that Tendulkar was in the building, probably for the last time, we came out en masse to worship him, frankly, because we'd watched the journey like everyone else.
I got a chance to watch his last Test innings in Delhi. It was just unbelievable, just the crowd support over there. Ratnakar Shetty, how did we as a generation of Indians sort of enjoy life when Sachin did well, and then felt sad when Sachin did badly? It's almost that his joy and his sadness was our sadness and our joy.
It's true. I think I would put it a bit more generally that the aspirations of Indians goes up and down with the performance of Indian cricket team most of the times. Particularly if you're playing Pakistan, it is more. And as far as a person is concerned, I think everybody was waiting for him to do well, praying for him to get 100. That's the kind of relation that he developed with the fans all over India and abroad, as you rightly said. Because on the tour of Pakistan in 2004, on the very first day when we landed in Lahore, at the hotel when we were having dinner, there was a line of youngsters to take his autograph. It was something which was a surprise for me. And his popularity, therefore, irrespective of whichever country where he goes to play, was the same. He was adored, actually.
Sunandan, is it true that ghee, roti and chini was his go-to meal?
Yeah. Given an option, Vishnu, he was an out and out non-vegetarian. But let me narrate you one story which will bring out something humorous for all of us. We were traveling from Mumbai to Nasik one day, and in car we were 4 of us. Sachin was driving himself, Atul Ranade, his schoolmate, and Vinod Naidu and myself. We were traveling from Mumbai to Nasik, and Nasik was just nearing by. And we were standing at the signal because signal has gone red. And one couple was just standing just next to Sachin. And if you observe that if an Indian woman is wearing a sari and sitting on a scooter, she will be sitting on one side and
yes,
her husband was on the front side. And Sachin just told me, Sunandan, maza dekh le. And the moment that red signal gone yellow, he just opened his car window. Sachin's face and that lady's face was just this distance, and he just said namaste, and that woman had gone mad and she was screaming in her husband's ear like mad, and all of us started laughing. Oh my God, I cannot forget these type of incidences.
That is absolutely incredible. Look, it's been wonderful speaking to you.